Good morning, everybody. I am Marisol Leach. I am one of the school psychologists here at Yelm High School. We have the pleasure of Staff Sergeant Leach here with the 95th Military Police Detachment here at JBLM. Let me switch my camera for you guys and say hello.
Morning, thank you for having us.
And they are here today to talk about what it is to be a canine handler here in the Army.
So thank you. Like Ms. Leach said, I'm Staff Sergeant Leach. I'm the kennel master at JBLM. I'm also a military working dog handler. I've got two of my handlers with me. I've got Staff Sergeant Tucci and Specialist Graham, and then we have MWD Junior over there just hanging out. I really appreciate you having us. So a little bit of what we do. We have two different types of dogs. We have narcotics dogs and explosive dogs. But prior to that, some of the requirements that are expected of handlers as they come in, you'll do your initial basic training for about 8 weeks at one of the basic training installations across the United States. And then from there, after that 8-week time period, you'll go to Fort Leonard Wood for 7 more weeks for your MP training, basically. After that 7-week training, you'll go down to Lackland Air Force Base, where we have the basic military working dog handler course, and that's an 11-week course. While you're there at that 11-week course, you'll pretty much learn the foundations of working a dog. You'll go through the motions, you'll actually get assigned a dog down there. You'll do basic obedience, you'll do controlled aggression, so bite work. You'll do building searches, which is a dog looking for human odor behind doors or in a field. And then you'll go over to detection, which you'll have an explosive dog, and you'll search for chlorates in 5 different type of areas. So warehouses, airplanes, open areas, theaters, and things like that. You also get a lot of about a week and a half, 2 weeks training for basic veterinarian skills, just so you can identify some health issues and ensure the safety of your military working dogs when you get assigned them at your installation. Once you get assigned to your installation, you'll be assigned to one of those dogs, either a patrol drug detector dog or a patrol explosive detector dog. Both of them are dual qualified in that bite capability or apprehension style techniques, and then either explosives or narcotics. And the basic missions you're going to be doing, if you're on an explosive dog, all the dogs or all our handlers do law enforcement training. So you're going to enforce those laws on the installation and keep people safe. You'll also, as an explosive team, go out and support U.S. Secret Service missions for the President of the United States, Vice President of the United States, and any foreign dignitaries that might come into the United States. Our drug dogs will pretty much do some drug enforcement stuff. They'll go support local agencies or federal law enforcement agencies at the port of entries and helping them out to ensure that no illegal substances are coming into the United States. Do I have any questions at this time as far as any training techniques, schooling, things like that you might need, or you want to know about prior to us kind of going into a demonstration?
I guess maybe speak more about once you are in this position, what are extra trainings that are available?
Absolutely. So you have a few different types of trainings that you can attend once you become a military working dog handler. One of them is Train the Trainer course, which you'll go back down to Lackland Air Force Base for 30 days. And you'll actually go through with the trainers that initially trained MWDs prior to sending them out to the Department of Defense. So they can go to the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, or the Army. Another schooling that you can go to is Trainer or Supervisor's course, which identifies or helps you go to advanced trainer techniques to fix certain issues with dogs that you have at your installation. Another one that you can go to is the Patrol Explosive Detector Dog Enhanced School, which Sergeant Tucci and his dog went through. And pretty much you're just building that foundation over a 90-day period of off-leash capability. That way you have a standoff distance more than 25 feet. And that's something does happen when you're out there supporting Secret Service or in a deployed environment.
So when a dog handler is not out on a mission, what does the day-to-day life kind of look like for a dog handler and for the dogs?
So day-to-day life, all the dogs, they stay in their own kennel run at our facility. We do have somebody there that provides care for 24 hours. These handlers come in every day. We do physical training in the morning. Occasionally, we'll do dog physical training as well. So we'll take those dogs out. We'll let them run. We'll go on rucks with these dogs. We'll conduct what are known as critical tasks. So we'll train every day, Monday through Friday. They're allowed to come in on weekends, doing those basic obedience skills, controlled aggression skills, and detection. And we divvy up that training scenario so it's more realistic to those students.
Great. Yes.
I was wondering how many dogs do you have in your kennel right now, and where do you get the dogs from?
So we have 18 dogs on joint base losing board, and it'll be different for each installation. Some are larger than the other ones. So smaller kennels have about 12 dogs, larger kennels have about 32 dogs. And then we get all of our dogs through Lackland Air Force Base. So Junior, he is a single letter, so he just has one J in his name, and they purchased those dogs from overseas. If any of the dogs have a double same letter, they are bred at Lackland Air Force Base.
Yes.
Okay, yep. So Lackland Air Force Base does have a breeding program, and they select these dogs by pretty much what their parents are, their lineage and things like that. That's the only way they get bred out of Lackland. We don't do any breeding at the installation.
Yes.
So the Army uses German Shepherds or Belgian Malinois. We used to use labs, but we went away with our specialized search dog programs and pretty much turned that into the petty program.
Yes. What do you do with the dogs when they retire?
So when they're up for retirement, we put them through a disposition process. So we have to evaluate them to make sure that they're not going to be a danger to anyone that might want to adopt them. So what we'll do is we'll do a video on them just to make sure that it's safe. Usually the handler of the dog will get the first pick, then it goes to somebody in the kennels, and then it'll go outside the organization to any family member that would like to adopt that dog. Yeah, so it doesn't matter whether it's female or male. We train these dogs in civilian clothes, in uniform, in different environments. That way they don't get used to just seeing this every day. Because more likely than not, they're not going to encounter this if we might have to send a dog in that scenario.
Okay. Okay, so with that, we will get started with the demonstration.
Okay, so Staff Sergeant Tucci and MW Junior, and we'll do some basic obedience. We'll do just pretty much what they're capable of. They'll do some distance things and just his overall obedience with Sergeant Tucci. And then we're gonna do a little bit of bite work with Junior. So what Sergeant Tucci is doing right now is we call this an extended stay. So he's at least 50 feet away from his dog, and the dog needs to stay in position for at least 35 to 40 seconds. And that's part of what we look at during our certification process when we do this annually. So right there is what we call a halfway recall. He recalled the dog to him, stopped him halfway in case maybe there was some type of danger, and then he'll fully recall him. Specialist Graham is going to be putting on, this is some of the gear that we use when we do our bite training. This is what's known as a bite suit. We do have tops and we do have bottoms. That way the dog doesn't doesn't generalize on just biting an arm. They can go for any part of the body, and that's what we ultimately want. Specialist Graham's going to put on the suit, and we do 5 phases of aggression. So we do, our first phase is just a field interview, so that team comes up to an individual and just makes contact with them. They want to see their ID, what they're doing out here, and pretty much that's it. They send them on their way. Sergeant Tucci makes contact, he checks his ID, makes sure there's nothing wrong. From there, we go into our phase 2 of this portion, and this is where the suspect is not compliant and he actually wants to run from the dog team. And this is where Sergeant Tucci will challenge and send the dog to apprehend the suspect. Junior apprehends the suspect, and Sergeant Tucci needs to conduct a search of that individual. He'll put his dog down and sit, and move forward and search that individual to make sure he has no weapon. Now, if this were to happen in a field or somewhere far away from his patrol vehicle, he would escort him back to that patrol vehicle so he can put him in this bag and take him to the station. Our last phase is what's known as a standoff. Suspect initially becomes non-compliant, takes off running. In the middle of it, he sees the dog pursuing him and realizes it's a bad idea to run from the dog, so he stops. And then what Sergeant Tucci will do is he will call his dog out and have him so he does not bite the decoy or that suspect. And that concludes our demonstration for the obedience portion and the aggression portion. We don't have anything here where we can show you that detection portion because it's all locked up at our kennels. Yes.
How long does it take to train a dog like this?
Usually for your initial training, they usually try to get them trained in about 120 days. And that's 60 days in the obedience and control portion, and then 60 days in the detection portion. After that, they send them to the field, and then we do what's known as a field evaluation questionnaire, which is a 75-day evaluation to make sure that that dog has no issues. And then from there, it takes at most probably between 30 and 120 days to get that dog through a certification. Yeah. So the dogs will deploy. So Sergeant Tucci, any of our explosive dog teams are more likely to deploy. The dogs will go with them. They will, depending on the environment, they'll either live with them or they have a kennel set up. And whether it's Afghanistan, Iraq, Kuwait, Honduras, or Egypt, and they support those units downrange.
What would you say is a good skills or qualities to have going into this career?
One of the big ones is obviously being physically fit. You can see Junior jumps up and tries to tackle Graham and bites him, catching those dogs day in, day out. Junior's 70 pounds, so a dog running full speed, catching him, you're going to have a lot of shoulder issues, back issues, things like that. So physically fit. Education is definitely good just because of the knowledge base, working with dogs and trying to understand what they're going to work for. That's a big one. And then communication skills and being able to operate individually, because that's how you will deploy. You won't deploy with anybody else. It'll be you and your dog, and support whoever is in country.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So we just ensure that anybody that's not a handler doesn't come up to that dog and pet them just because they are working. They do have tendencies to bite. They are trained dogs, and unexpected things can happen. So we just, so that when we do it, we just make sure we have that standoff distance, and that handler controls those dogs pretty well.
Great. Any other questions? Yes.
Is there any projected
So beforehand, no, there's no real educational requirements other than just a high school diploma to get into the military. However, the Army does offer tuition assistance, so it will pay for your schooling. That's how I got 3 degrees. I didn't pay for any of it, so it's kind of nice. So I don't know what the actual ASVAB score is now. I know when I came in, you had to have at least a 50 on your ASVAB to get your military police. And with military dog handlers, it is its own MOS now. So you can't come in as a canine handler and not just